Hello, everybody, and welcome back here to the Big Old Belt Media YouTube channel. Got a special interview today, and I haven't done an interview in a while, but I have definitely been checking out a lot of films, and there has been a film that has crossed my path that I was like, I have got to reach out for an interview here because I absolutely was just baffled at how good this film was. This film is White Lies, a psychological thriller about a young lady faking an illness, to say the least. This is going to be available digitally January 5th, and then it will be on pre-order for you all come December 20th. And I'm here speaking with Amber Anderson, who plays Jennifer Ellis in this film, who is the girlfriend, the support team, and all that good stuff. Maybe for your interpretation, one might even say enabler, but we won't go there right now. But Amber, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? That's a
Pretty
big
good.
statement you just made, but yeah.
I just love this film. I'm so honored to be able to talk to you, and I've definitely loved your past work as well too. I mean, we can literally talk for an hour of so many things that you've been involved with, but we'll focus on White Lie today. And you're just spectacular in this. And then doing some research about you coming into this film, I was just like, oh wow, I was a fan. I'm like a mega fan now because just your hard work and dedication. It's a real thing here. So, but yeah, starting with that, like, yes, you did come into this project kind of last moment here.
Yeah.
They had already started filming. I know casting was kind of a difference than probably what you're accustomed to. But can you kind of take us through that process of you? Obviously, you know, well, some may not know, you were actually filming another film. You were auditioning for Emma. All of this while being casted for this from London to Toronto. I mean, and even like you said, you barely had rest. So like, take us through all of this. Make this make sense.
So I was actually in Belgium at the time making a film where I was playing a schizophrenic. It was a sort of psychological thriller, and I was doing all sorts of crazy things like going into very icy lakes in the middle of November and basically losing my mind. And that was an experience. While I was in Belgium with black hair and lots of fake cuts and bruises and injuries and some real injuries, I got an email asking if I would like to Skype Calvin and Yona, the directors of White Lie. And I didn't audition, I just Skyped them. And it was so intense, my schedule at that point, that I Skyped them one night and I had forgotten to wash off the fake cuts and the fake bruises off my arms. And I had this kind of jet black hair, and they were just like, what the hell is going on with this girl? But we Skyped and we got on very well, and I loved the script. Like, I just fell in love with it the moment I read it. And then I said yes. They offered it to me and I said yes. And then I finished that film in Belgium and I went back to London, and I had a day where I went to the hairdressers and I got my hair put back to normal. And then the day after that, I flew to Toronto and we started filming the day after that. So it was crazy. And then while I was in Toronto, I was also auditioning for Emma and doing tapes for Emma. And then that's a whole other part of the story where I finished White Lie, went back to London, had a day, flew to LA to meet the director of Emma. And so it was like, I basically thought that I was going to do one movie, and then I left home and didn't come back for 3 months because I just like ended up on this very strange adventure. But it was really it was very last minute, and I was kind of on the plane to Toronto, like frantically trying to learn these incredibly dialogue heavy scenes, like kind of 8-page long scenes. And we started with 2 night shoots. So I arrived and I was incredibly jet lagged. I'd just come off 12 weeks on this other film. And suddenly they were like, okay, so we're starting at 8 p.m. and we'll be wrapping at 6. And I was like, great. And I was genuinely sleeping in between setups. Like, they would go, okay, wait, we got that shot, great, we'll do another setup now. And luckily there was a bed in the set that was part of the set, and so I was just basically sleeping and waking up and acting. And it was from an actor perspective actually like a really good experience, because it meant that I couldn't overthink anything, and it meant that I just kind of had to go with what was happening, because I actually didn't have the brain capacity to like think about it any deeper than that. And I think that was actually like a really good thing, you know.
That is living the life There's no sleep for the weary. That's dedication. Like when I kind of was like, I was kind of piecing the story together. I was like, wait, how did? Sounds like 3 films was accomplished all within a certain amount of time. Like, and they're all spectacular roles too, which is like, and, you know, I'm gonna talk about it in a second. But I believe the film you were filming for in Belgium was Skinwalker, right?
Yeah.
So,
and then I did Emma afterwards. Yeah.
And then when you look at the characters between the 3 of them, I mean, that's a lot of off and on, off and on.
I know, but by the time we got to Emma, it was like, because of the character I play in Emma, Jane Fairfax, she's basically someone who a lot of people talk about a lot, but she herself is like keeping this big secret, so she doesn't speak very much. So by that point, I was like, oh great, I can just watch everybody else act and just sit here in the corner and not say anything. But yeah, it was intense, and it was a real lesson in like kind of just riding it the wave when it comes, because as an actor you can spend so much time like obviously being unemployed and going, oh my god, when am I going to work, work? And then I suddenly had sort of 3 jobs with no break, and I had to really battle with the side of myself that was suddenly like, oh my god, I need a holiday, you know. And you're kind of like, no, like you have to be grateful, you know, and look after yourself, but like also just roll with it, you know, when it comes. But yeah, so it was crazy. But it was one of the best filming experiences ever, making White Lie. It was really brilliant. Yeah.
That's awesome. I got to ask, and I don't mean this in just the generic way where a lot of people like to ask about how's it working with Casey Rowe. But what I really mean by this question is like, how was it working with her? One, you know, having to build the chemistry and trust pretty much on the fly. But for me personally, how was it working with her when you two take each other in such a fantastic performance by the 2 of you on an emotional roller coaster, up and down, and like, and when I mean up and down, I just mean like for the viewers, we're invested into the 2 of you all. I mean, everyone wants love, and that's a happy thing. It's a beautiful thing. And you 1 minute you're rooting for Katie, 1 minute you're rooting for Jennifer, then you're like, well, I'm rooting for them together separately, and it's just like it's a lot of things that's happening, moving pieces there. So like, how was it really working, having to kind of be on the same page, but at sometimes having to actually be on the opposite page to really bring that dynamic?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. I mean, like you said, it was really on the fly, which meant that we just kind of had to trust each other really and just go into it and be open. And it was very easy to do that with her because she's a very nice person, and she's very generous as an actor. Like she's always giving it 100%, even if the camera's not even on her, you know. And it's like your coverage, she's completely there with you. And sadly, not every actor is like that, although you hope that most are. But she just is very generous. And in terms of the kind of dynamic between them, I mean, it's a tricky one really, because obviously my character's sort of truth in the story is that she believes her, you know. And so I really just had to play that, and that was my job. My role in the universe of the film was just to kind of be a really supportive girlfriend. And I think that's something that I liked about her, was that there's a sort of purity to her that I think like a lot of us want to have, but like not everybody has. And I myself might have been a lot more skeptical than she is, and so it was nice to sort of play that. I mean, I feel like it's reductive to say gullibleness, because I don't think she is gullible. I think she's just very trusting and sees the good in her. And I suppose the thing that we talked about a lot at the beginning was the kind of similarity in that relationship to like any other type of sort of emotionally abusive relationship with someone who is an addict of some kind. Because ultimately, you know, and I can't really speak for Casey's character, but like it's like she's sort of addicted to the lie, you know, in the way that an alcoholic would be, or a drug addict would be, or someone who had a compulsive spending habit or whatever it is. And so I think for me that was what kind of rang true, and that was what I was playing into, was like all those moments that we've all had at some point in a relationship where you probably know that the person you're with like really isn't good enough, and but you just so want to believe in the good in them that you stay anyway, you know. And I think, you know, not to ruin anything, but there's a really great moment at the end of the film, I think, where Jennifer really finally kind of like chooses what she wants, and I think that's good.
Yeah,
I was happy that she got that.
It's a tug of war on emotion. It's the balance of like, yeah, like you said, trust and believing and kind of falling back on your morals and principles. And like for viewers, we are absolutely completely invested in that. And that's why the film is so good, is because like it does become personal. And it becomes personal because you love the characters, and then you start thinking, well, if I was in these shoes, or like, wait, I have been in some of these situations, and it's just, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Because ultimately, it doesn't have to be someone's lied to you about cancer. It could just be any type of betrayal, really. And I think it's an interesting film. The thing I thought was interesting when I read it was that she's lying basically from the beginning, and I thought that was interesting because that's the type of thing that traditionally would be some kind of twist,
and exactly.
I thought that was cool because it really plays with your, as a sort of audience member, it really plays with your morality in a way. You do weirdly root for her, even though you know that she's like doing a terrible thing.
I agree. I think it's definitely I love how it was done, with that not being some twist in the middle of the film, but laying it out now and having you go along with the ride. I thought that was just brilliantly done. I gotta ask a question a little bit outside of the film now, with everything that's being talked about, and obviously your heavy workload. Well, what do you do for self-care? How do you pull yourself out of some of these roles and really relax and regain mental stability?
Well, that year of doing those 3 movies was a huge lesson in that, because I kind of went into the first movie like quite green in a way, and like almost too open. And it was I got exhausted. I was physically and emotionally exhausted by the time I finished those 3 films, and I took 6 months off. I just was like, that's it, and so I think it definitely changed my attitude to acting. Like I'm someone that really throws myself into things, and I get very committed and I work hard, and I realized that I still needed to keep hold of myself in those experiences, and so I really practice like leaving the character at set. I'm not an actor that takes it home. I really think it's healthy for me to leave it at work and go back and see your friends and see whoever, and just like be yourself again. And for me, I think that's the healthiest approach to the acting side. Massage sounds weird, but I'm like,
I think that's great.
my body gets very tense, and there's something about massage that just like completely sorts me out. So not normally, but when I'm filming, I will treat myself to like a massage, like probably every week, because that just like completely kind of grounds me again. Just time out, really. I'm quite introverted when I want to be, so I sort of always make sure that I'm not being too social, that I almost have time scheduled just to be at home with my cats and a book, and like being quiet and playing the piano or doing whatever. But otherwise, it's sort of just like anyone else, like running. I go on runs and, watch stuff on telly that makes me feel good, and I don't have to think about it too much, stuff like that.
I think the key thing here, folks, anybody's watching, is that there's an answer here. No matter where you're at in your life, your career, whatever it may be, there's an answer when you need to reel back into your safe and comfort zone and focus on your mental health and your mental stability and self-care. There's an answer, and no matter what it is, it's just important to have. And it's very good to hear that you have very relatable actions as well too, that others, your fans and so on, can actually do the same thing. Going back, playing the piano, being quiet, being to yourself, hanging out with the cats, with the cool cats, you know what I mean? So like all that stuff is important. So happy to hear that.
And I do therapy as well, and I talk to various people about how I'm feeling, and I have a lot of actor friends. That helps, kind of talking to other actors about experiences that might not be relatable to everybody else, but
nice.
So it's kind of a mixture of stuff.
Now to kind of go back into the film now again, this I thought, and I said this in my review, and I don't think this word is even used at all in the film, but you said it. It's the word addict. And whatever it is, you know, you can associate it with drugs, you can associate it with just anything that someone is ultimately addicted to, which involves manipulation and whatever of others.
Mm-hmm.
So in this film, in reading the script, in your performance, did any of this ever get too personal or too real to you? Like, because like this film exploits like a lot of things that can surely be triggering and almost even angering at times. But like, with that being said, like as an actor, I would like to know, when you have personal experiences and such of this magnitude, does it help in preparation for your performance, or does it hurt actually in your performance?
I think there can be things that you read that are like too close. You know, I've definitely read things before and gone, nah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go into that.
Yeah.
This wasn't one of them. I think because of the thing I said before, where it was like it could just be any kind of betrayal in a way. I think, and in a way, it helped that it was something that I hadn't experienced, which was someone lying to me about cancer specifically. Do you know what I mean? Like it was sort of, it helped that the subject matter was different. But we all know betrayal of some kind, so I could tap into that. But I also don't think that you have to have experienced the thing that you're acting in order to empathize. Do you know what I mean? I think if you're doing your work properly, you know, I think you should be able to kind of play anything really, which is a sort of a rambly answer. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, there are definitely things I've read and I've gone, no, I can't do that, you know. And I think one of the things that I have kind of come to with myself is that I really struggle with, you know, incredibly emotionally violent scenes, for instance, where someone is in a kind of when someone's like, because of that film Skinwalker, and because it was so emotionally kind of all over the place and the character was so all over the place, that really exhausted me. And after that film I was like, oh, I'm gonna really choose carefully if I do that kind of thing again, because it's like, because the thing is, you, even though you know it's not real, your body experiences it as a real experience. So it's like if you're playing someone who's having a constant panic attack, you actually are putting your body into like a constant state of fight, flight, freeze, and that's not a thing. That's like that's the thing, you know. That's like something that you then have to process. So I definitely do. I'm definitely more what's the word, like,
selective.
Yeah, I'm more selective now. But everyone kind of has to get to that place and learn that lesson, you know.
Yeah, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And this is not the first time I've heard the story of you know, someone's experience with selections of films and stuff like that. And it's real. I mean, even for viewers, we have to be selective about certain things we intake, how we intake it, because there's stories being told from really concisive ideas, and whether you're playing it or whether you're watching it, you know, the idea is to put people in that experience. So
totally.
And soon as like once I started looking at the list, I was just like, okay, now this film right here is one thing. Then playing someone who's schizophrenic, then going to Emma, this is like,
there is a good journey, but I think I'm more suited to like the White Lies and the Emmas of this world, you know. I think, like, you know, and it's funny because I'm actually someone who, I hate horror movies. I don't watch them. I'm very sensitive. I find it too real, you know what I mean? Like my brain is too trusting. So I watch it and it like really haunts me. And so the reason I wanted to do a horror was because I sort of wanted to like desensitize myself, but then actually it was just like quite traumatizing. I was like, maybe I just don't do horror.
Not yet, or maybe not at all.
Or maybe, like, you know, just very selectively. But yeah, it is interesting. And I think as much as I said that thing of like leaving it on the set and not taking it home with you, like, of course you can't help but take some of it back, because it is like a real lived experience, you know. So I think that is like something to consider, definitely.
Yeah, I just know from watching this film, I was just, the big thing for me. And at this point, everybody watching this, I'm definitely going to talk about one major spoiler in this film. I probably won't even release this interview till around the release time of the film, so just to be safe. But anyway, just in case, whenever you're listening to this, folks, I am about to talk about something a little spoilerish in the film. I have the opportunity to talk to Amber. Why would I waste this opportunity and not talk about a big point here? But I will say the first thing for me, I will say, and this is in the trailer, so this isn't the spoilers, the idea of taking something fake and making it lucrative. And that's something that with all the GoFundMe's of the world and so on, that a lot of us do see. We see people do things and run charities or whatever it may be. And next thing you know, they're pocketing it all for the wrong reason. And I think that's like the first thing, especially when you consider a college student, you're broke. Oh, I've been there. I know that. Then you're like, oh, you're doing really well. A lot of money. Thousands of dollars. Like that hurt. That element alone right there just hurt me. And I'm just like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing. So, but I do have to talk about the last scene, which was super powerful that you alluded to earlier, and that's being at the radio station. I would like for you to, however you want to play this, can you either tell me what you think happened next in the film, or what would you have liked happen in the film? Does she stay? Does she go? Was she ultimately a pushover, or was she in love?
I think she was really in love for sure. I think she leaves. I kind of think you see her leave. That just as it cuts, there's like a movement where I kind of stand up, And for me, that's enough. Like, I mean, I did it, so obviously I know. But like, for me, she leaves. Yeah, I think that's that moment where you in any kind of bad relationship that's toxic, where you go, okay, if I stay now, I'm actually doing this to myself. I'm actually letting this person hurt me. Am I going to let this person hurt me? Hopefully, the answer is no. And I think that is her moment where that's it. She's had enough,
Yeah.
And I think it's tricky because I think when someone's like been lying to you, a lot of the time you often know that they've been lying to you. Really, you don't want to believe it, but you sort of know. And so I think there's also like an anger with yourself as well that happens in that situation where you kind of go, oh, I've almost been enabling this person. So yeah, for me, I almost don't want to say this, but for me, she leaves. That's it. That's it. She kind of goes off, and hopefully I think Jennifer is fine. Ultimately, I think she's going to be fine. I think it's Katie that is got the question mark in that sense, but I think it is one of those endings that audiences could decide.
Leave for interpretation. Yep. Well, I don't know. I don't know if you know, but I was also at the radio station, and once she cried and then she started smiling and got up, I was like, all right, Jennifer, time for us to go. We're done here. Like, I done seen it all now. You done gave me a whole performance and layout of a big cry and I love you and all this other stuff. And then you snap out of it and then completely happy. And I just, those emotions, I didn't feel like that was genuine. So I was like, you know what? And Jennifer had that look like, oh yeah, I'm done. Not even a question. I'm not hurt. I get it. I get it now.
I know.
I think she cried the tears with her mom. That was the hurt. But I think at the rail stations when she was just like, all right, I got it. Yep. I got it.
Yeah.
So
I agree. Yeah.
Well, once again, everybody, I'm talking to Amber Anderson of the film White Lie, who plays Jennifer Ellis, who is the girlfriend, the support team, and for your interpretation of everything else after you check this film out January 5th digitally, and you can pre-order it December 20th on all digital platforms. I will leave you with one last question, Amber. You always working, you're always around, you're moving, you're flying, you're always involved in something. What is next that you may be able to let us know?
I've got two really amazing projects coming up, and they haven't done press releases for either of them.
Okay.
So, but I promise you it will be worth the wait to find out. It's very exciting, and I'm currently in the midst of lots of costume fittings and wig fittings and things like that.
Awesome.
So I'm sorry to be boring, but yeah.
No, that ain't boring.
I'm happily employed.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank
Much
you.
more success for you. I think you're just flourishing more and more as you get deeper into your career. And I would love to be able to talk to you on those other projects. So you obviously a seat is open for whenever you're able to return and to actually talk about those projects. But as always, please get some sleep. That's important. Thank you so much for taking time today. I really appreciate it.
Nice to see you. Thank you.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for watching this interview, and I'll catch you all very soon. Big Gold Bell.